to Entrepreneurship Week number 1. Today we will be discussing about part 2. The topic is problem identification and opportunity evaluation. So in week 1 activities we had discussed yesterday activity number 1, 2 and 3, that is ideas capture, identify a problem worth solving, and 5 whys framework, right? And today we will refer the remaining 3 activities, that is refine ideas using design thinking, then how to create a elevator pitch, and run problem interviews. So let's begin. Let me just glance through what we have discussed so far in yesterday's session, and we'll start with, yeah, we have reached till what is job to be done yesterday, and yeah, let's start with part 2. So in part 2 you will understand, if you're not yet familiar with what is design thinking, we'll understand the design thinking process and what is the design thinking process concept. Okay, so these all concepts we will be, witnessing just now in few moments. Yeah, so this is about this video is overview about what is design thinking, so listen carefully.
Hello, dear students. Are you a little curious about this lesson, design thinking? So let's get started. When someone says design, what is the first thing you imagine? Clothes, shoes, laptops, smartphones? Oh, now that has made me think about shops and malls. If you have also started dreaming, please come back. So, coming back to our question, has design only got to do with something you can see and hold? Is it only about how something looks? Is it only about beautiful things? If you imagine things that look beautiful, you are indeed right. But wait, you're only partially right. Design is more than how something looks. And surprise, surprise, it also applies to things you may not see and may not be able to touch. Are you thinking, how is that possible? Well, it is possible, and it is exactly what we will discover in the next few minutes. For instance, suppose you have to catch a bus to college every morning at 9 a.m., and before you do that, you have to do a number of things. Exercise in the morning, take your dog out for a walk, that is, if you have one, help your mother in the kitchen, and maybe go out to the market to buy milk. All this takes a lot of your time, and then you have to get dressed, which you do in a hurry. After all that, you run to the bus stop, and oh no, you just missed that bus again. Now, suppose one day you decide to sit down and replan your morning routine. You ask your younger brother and sister to take on some tasks. You complete some tasks the previous evening, or you combine them. Say, take your dog out for a walk and buy milk. Then you test out the new plan, and wow, you find that it works. By replanning, you have solved the getting late problem. And here is a surprise for you. This is exactly what design thinking is all about. This is the simplest example of design thinking. You see, design thinking is not something that only creative people like visual designers and fashion designers do. It is something that all of us do, you and me, all the time. Only that we're not doing it as a formal process, and we may not be aware we are doing it. Basically, when you analyze a problem and think of a solution, what you're doing is design thinking. Now that we have understood design thinking with a simple example, let us understand it as a subject to be studied, as a formal process to be applied. So let us look at what the subject of design thinking is and what it isn't. 1. Design thinking is a process that you can apply to problems that people face, or you can apply it to create something that people want or need. You can even apply it to redesign or improve a process. For example, a small car that is affordable to people who buy scooters. 2. anyone can apply design thinking. Students, teachers, working professionals, businessmen, yes, anyone. For example, a hospital may design a system that gives appointments and sends follow-ups for patients. 3. Design is not about how something looks, it is about how things look and feel and work. You can create new products by applying design thinking. You can also design new processes or redesign existing processes by applying design thinking. For example, we could apply design thinking to redesign how one gets a driving license so that people do not misuse the system. To sum up, I hope that when you hear design, you will understand it in a deeper sense and not as something that only looks beautiful.
Yeah, so this is about what is design thinking. Let's dive into details and think about now what is understand in deeper depths. That is what is design thinking in detail. Understand design thinking. So let's continue.
Hello there. Hope that you're all excited. We will learn many new things about design thinking and you will hear some interesting stories too. But before that, let me ask you a question. You know there is this word empathy? Do you know what it means? I'm sure you do. But let me just explain it so that all of us understand it in the same way. Empathy means understanding a person and understanding the person's pains and problems. Let me give you an example. Suppose you're in a bus and you are seated comfortably. An elderly lady gets into the bus from a stop and comes and stands near you. In all probability, you will get up and offer her your seat. By doing so, you are displaying empathy. You understand that it is difficult for the lady to stand, you understand her pain, and so you offer her your seat. Are you wondering what empathy has to do with design thinking? Well, it is the main principle of design thinking. The other principles are observation and user-centeredness. Wait. Are you thinking, oh my God, how boring? Again, some more principles. Don't write me off yet, please. I will not bore you with a lecture on these principles. You know what I will do? I will tell you some stories. So here is the first story. It is the year 2001 and the month is October. A new product is launched and the world is taken by surprise. The product is something that fits.
Can someone confirm? Or you able to hear it, without any problem?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. I'll continue.
Hello there. The other lady to stand, you understand her pain, and so you offer her your seat. Are you wondering what empathy has to do with design thinking? Well, it is the main principle of design thinking. The other principles are observation and user-centeredness. Wait. Are you thinking, oh my God, how boring? Again, some more principles. Don't write me off yet, please. I will not bore you with a lecture on these principles. You know what I will do? I will tell you some stories. So here is the first story. It is the year 2001 and the month is October. A new product is launched and the world is taken by surprise. The product is something that fits into your pocket and is set to change the way people store and play music. Can you guess what this could be? I'm sure yes, it is the iPod. It has 50 GB of storage and was the size of the tape that went into a Walkman. And you could download an entire CD into the gadget within 10 seconds. Why was it such a success when it was launched? It was because Apple, the company, empathized with these people who love music and wanted their music to be with them all the time, wherever they go. This understanding of people's need is empathy. And when you design a product keeping these very needs in mind, the product you create will definitely be user-centric. And that is the second principle of design thinking. User-centric means something that is centered around the user. And here is the second story. It was a rainy day in Bangalore. Ratan Tata, you know the head of the Tata Group? He was
Hello. Sorry, I again my call dropped. So where was I? I mean, in the video. Anyone can recollect?
Sir,
What?
from that rainy day.
So from that
Okay.
Ratan Tata part.
Yes, sir.
Hello, excuse me, sir.
Yes.
I think your screen is not shared. I'm not able to see the screen.
But you were able to hear, na, what you was, I mean, what was the video about?
No, sir.
Rainy day in Bangalore. Ratan Tata is the second story. It was a rainy
From here, I should play.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
day in Bangalore. Ratan Tata, you know the head of the Tata Group? He was traveling in his car when suddenly a scooter turned in front of his car and lost control. A family of four who were on the scooter fell on the pavement. Nobody got hurt, but this incident led Ratan Tata to think of making road travel safer for Indian families. And this is how the idea for the nano car was born. So, guys, can you all identify the principle of design thinking in this story? Yes, empathy, user-centeredness. And here is the third principle now. Observation. These very principles brought to the Indian roads a small car called Nano that was affordable for the scooter-owning family. I hope you enjoyed these stories, and here's one last story. And for this story, let us travel to Kenya in Africa because the story is set there. This is the story of Richard Turere. He was an 11-year-old boy then, and at this young age, he was responsible for taking care of his family's cattle. But very often, lions from the neighboring grasslands would attack the cattle. One day, a small observation led him to design a solution for this problem. He had observed that lions were afraid of approaching the farm when someone was carrying a flashlight. You know, a torch. He used this observation to design a light. The light was wired to an old car battery, which in turn was powered by a solar panel. This light flickered on and off and tricked the lions into believing that someone was moving around with a flashlight. So see, what a simple thing such an observation can do. It can spark creativity and innovation in a young boy. So here is the lesson for us. Let's agree to empathize and observe at all times, wherever we are. Who knows, we too may come up with a solution to some problem someday. And with that, I wind up for today.
Yeah, so same thing, y'all also have to observe empathy and observation. You know, it can create a spark of creativity and it can lead to a new innovative idea. So, yeah, that's the lesson for y'all also. So, let's move on to the next one, understanding the design thinking process concept. I hope the screen and the audio is clear to you.
Yes, sir.
This is the most exciting part of design thinking. The part where you actually apply the process and come up with solutions that will surprise you and delight your users. So let's get started. For our session, let's pick a product. What do you say? Let's pick a computer mouse. And your target users will be older adults, the elderly. Okay? For example, somebody like your grandmother who's very keen to use the computer, but she's not able to use the mouse. What will you do in this situation? How will you help her? Let's apply the design thinking process. What should the first step be? Yes, it should be to understand the user. Going back to our example, our users are the elderly. To understand them, this is what you will do. Observe them, where and how they are struggling in using the mouse. Interview them. Ask specific questions and record their responses. Listen carefully to understand the troubles they face, their pain points. Have a conversation, a dialogue. This is the first step, the empathize mode in the design thinking process. We've gathered quite a bit of user information. What next then? Well, this is the part where you spend time with the information that you collected through your observations and conversations. Look through the information carefully. Identify significant points, gain insights. You know that feeling when you think deeply about something and snap, suddenly you found something interesting, a pattern, a significant point. For example, you observe the hands of quite a few elderly people shook while using the mouse. This would be an observation, an interesting point. And when you find such interesting points, you should state it in specific and clear terms. For example, you may state, mouse control for elderly new computer users can be problematic because their hands shake. By doing this, you complete the next mode in design thinking process. This is step 2, the define mode. See that we have narrowed the scope of our problem. Next, we will think about solutions to address the specific problem. To do this, it is necessary to collaborate. Call as many people as you can who you think can help you in arriving at solutions, and generate as many ideas as possible through brainstorming. You allow your imagination to run wild at this point. No idea is silly. So, what you will achieve is a number of possible solutions. For example, one idea could be to design a mouse that can be used with both hands instead of one. Now, this is one idea, but there would be many other workable ideas. When you do this, you complete step 3, the ideate mode in design thinking process. After you ideate, you will have many workable ideas, but let's focus on one. For example, a mouse that can be used with both hands. What next? Now, this is the part that I find most exciting. This is where you get to give a form to your ideas. Convert ideas into something real, a model, an artifact. To do this, we use anything. Yes, anything that is available readily. For example, it could be an old discarded computer mouse, or a toy that your niece plays with, a plastic soap container, a tennis ball, and some other items like post-its, tapes, cardboard, paper clips, etc. Wait, are you surprised? Well, don't be, because that is the beauty of design thinking. To test out an idea, you can use anything that is readily available. Once you collect the stuff, you alter it. Take it apart, attach it together, add something to it, do anything until you think it looks like a good model for your idea. And you may create 2 to 3 different models. With this, you complete step 4, the prototype mode in design thinking process. Let's take a break. Here's a quick question for all of you. What is the first thing that you do when you cook a dish using a new recipe? Yes, you taste it to make sure that it tastes just right. In design thinking, after you create a prototype, you do something similar. No, come on, I don't mean that you taste it, but instead you test it. That's T-E-S-T, by giving it to the user. Going back to our example, we can give our prototype to the elderly and then watch how they use it. But remember one point, don't ask if they like it. Instead, observe how they use it and ask why they like it or don't like it. After you get feedback from them, you use it to refine your model, make it better and more workable. with this, you complete the final step in design process, the test mode. Not so tough, was it? If it was, let me quickly summarize it for you in the form of a jingle. To make your idea a success and to make your product the very best, follow the design mantra, which is empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. There, I hope that this will help you remember the 5 modes. But of course, as with everything else, the next step is to try this out, which we will do soon. But for now, for this session, I take your leave. Goodbye and have a great day.
Okay, so these were the 5 modes of design thinking process: empathize, define, ideate, right? Test, prototype, and test. Okay, so you all have to apply these principles for your idea which you're working on. Now let's look at the activity number 4. So in activity number 4 is refine your ideas using design thinking process, right? Again, you have to complete this activity in your teams, and you have to keep the handout of identify a problem worth solving with you for following this, right? So you have to observe your customers first, right? Observe them, give them what problem they face and how do they, solve them. What did you observe? You have to write it down. Then is there any benefits that customer is looking at? Do you think you can solve any customer's problem, right? Then the sample questionnaire is given how they have solved it, so you can refer that. So this is about activity number 4, refine ideas using design thinking process. Now let's move on to the next one. So next, let's understand what do we mean by elevator pitch, its concept and introduction. So let's start.
Hello there. So, what do you do? This is the most common question we all face when we meet people in a conference, a social gathering, or a business meeting. And you get precisely 1 minute to answer this. Today, we are going to teach you a technique that will help you do this 1-minute speech well. It is called the elevator pitch. Everyone can use this technique, even to sell. More so, entrepreneurs. Sometimes it can help them open new avenues of business by just a 1-minute speech. Are you wondering what this elevator pitch is? Well, let me explain with an example. Imagine you are in an elevator and you hear a voice saying, "Hold on, please." And there enters the famous CEO of a large multinational company. You see him in the newspapers all the time. You greet him shyly. Surprisingly, he's friendly. He responds with a question. "Do you work here? What do you do?" Are you wondering where on earth do I start? By the time you organize your thoughts, uh-oh, time is up. The elevator stops and you part ways. What a loss of opportunity. This is one such instance where an elevator pitch would have come to your rescue. The elevator pitch is one of the most common selling techniques. It is also called an elevator speech, an elevator presentation, or elevator story. You have exactly 60 seconds to leave a solid, meaningful, and an extraordinary impression about yourself or your idea or your product. So, how do we do that? It takes some time to craft a brief, persuasive pitch which is compelling enough to make a positive impression. Here are a few tips that will help you craft your elevator pitch. Tip number 1, identify your goal. Execution is always an easy task if the planning is done well, isn't it? So plan your goals first. What is it that you want to achieve through your pitch? For example, do you want to launch a new product? Are you looking for an investor for your product? Do you want to sell your idea, product, or service? Or do you just want to have an engaging conversation to let people know what you do? So, craft your pitch according to your goal. Tip number 2, explain what you do. You can start this by asking yourself a question. What do I want others to remember about me? Am I a problem solver? People always want a solution than just clearing a problem. At this point, it's important that you craft those numerous value adds that you can bring in and solve issues. For example, if you are a grammar coach with a vision of making a business around grammar coaching, your pitch needs to have elements of solving issues related to English grammar and what do you do to solve those issues. Like, I am a grammar coach and my primary focus is to make grammar fun and exciting for students. Tip number 3, communicate your USP. Your pitch ought to communicate the USP, popularly known as the unique selling proposition. Your USP is something that is unique about you or your organization. Here you can also highlight what you bring to the table which is better than your competitors. This can include any survey or research results or statistics. For example, you can say that I remember when I was in school, I would get confused between its without an apostrophe and its with an apostrophe. The difference between advise and advice. So I can empathize with students' problems in learning grammar. I have designed an online game which you can access through a simple mobile app to make learning grammar an engaging and fun experience for both teachers and students. It includes games and quizzes. In fact, I have conducted a pilot with 30 government schools with 90% results. I'll be happy to take you through a demo sometime. Tip number 4, engage with a question. After you have communicated your USP, you can engage further with your audience with a question. Ask some open-ended questions like, what methods do you use in your school to teach grammar? Is it instructor-led or is it self-paced? Ask
Okay, I guess.
together. A simple mobile, you have communicated your USP, you can engage further with your audience with a question. Ask some open-ended questions like, what methods do you use in your school to teach grammar? Is it instructor-led or is it self-paced? Asking the right question may lead to an opportunity for you. Tip number 5, put it all together. Once you have made the skeleton of your pitch, now join the dots together. Read it aloud. Keep a timer to ensure your pitch does not exceed 30 to 40 seconds. Remember, your pitch needs to be crisp, concise, and to the point. Here's how your pitch would sound like once you put all of it together. I'm a grammar coach and my primary focus is to make grammar fun and exciting for students. I remember when I was in school, I would get confused with its without an apostrophe and its with an apostrophe. The difference between advice and advise, and so on. So I can empathize with students' problems in learning grammar. I have designed an online game which you can access through a simple mobile app to make learning grammar an engaging and fun experience for both teachers and students. It includes games and quizzes. In fact, I have conducted a pilot in 30 government schools with 90% results. I'll be happy to take you through a demo sometime. So, what methods do you use in your school to teach grammar? Is it an instructor-led or self-paced approach? Tip number 6, practice, practice, practice. Last but not the least, practice, practice, practice. Be well versed with your pitch. It's okay to memorize the first few lines. After all, it should not sound like a pre recorded tape. You can also practice in front of the mirror so you are aware of your body language as well. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes, even though it was scripted earlier. In any case, no one else knows that. So go ahead and craft your elevator pitch.
Yeah, working on your elevator pitch is part of your activity, activity number 5. So let's look into it. So this is your elevator pitch as exactly mentioned in the video. It's a short, clear statement that explains what your business does and why it is unique in a minute, right? So all the description is also given here. Some examples are given, and you have to complete this activity in your teams again, and you should answer the following questions over here. I mean, it's a very much very much clear about, very formal it is. I mean, you can touch you can keep a touch of informality also, but that's how your 1 minute pitch will work, right? You have to state clearly how your business will solve a problem or offer a solution. How are you offering a solution and what makes you unique? Okay, so elevator pitch will be part of your milestone 1. Now let me quickly go to the slide and move on to the next one. So activity number 6 is run problem interviews. So if if we wouldn't have COVID restrictions, I would have told you that get out of your building and talk to people, right? But right now, due to COVID restrictions, you cannot do that. So what are the innovative ways of reaching out to people? So you can reach them via the online modes such as WhatsApp, calling, then Facebook, Instagram. You can reach out to people and ask them about what problems they are facing. They'll not directly tell you, but you can observe them, people around you also, right? So these are the instructions given to you that you must have identified a problem that it is worth solving. Let's consider that. So what do you do next, right? You come up with a solution to resolve that problem, right? But before you jump into the solution finding mode, make sure that your customers also feel strongly about the problem, right? How do you do that? So by talking to them. So this activity is about conducting problem interviews with them, whether whatever you are thinking, it's in line with what they want. Okay, so these are the problem interview script given over here, and it is recommended that you should interview at least 20 people, right? And you should use the innovative technique. So these are the steps given to you, right? So you some of these steps might not be valid. You can go through them in details, right? Next is best practices. Some of the best 12 best practices are given to you. So you read them and accordingly record the questions, and some sample questions are given over here. It need not be same, and you have to state here the problem that you have identified worth solving over here in this space. And then over here you should respond. You should enter your responses you received from your interview, right? Now interview can be a online survey. It can be a face-to-face interview. You can record it also, right? Or you can also convert into a meeting, online meeting like we are having right now. Okay, and these are some of the questions which are there, which you can record. Fine. So yeah, so this is about activity number 6. Last, we'll come to the end of week 1 topic, but that was problem identification, and we have seen in briefly what does the design thinking process is and what are the various steps in it. So you'll all have taken an important step in turning your business idea into a business, right? Now, acknowledgement and references, Kaufman Fast Track and Vadvani Foundation Ignite program. So if you have any questions, please ask. By the way, this form will be shared with you all so that you can enter your team details over here. So this is a Google form. right? You have to enter your team details for January to April 2022. So only a leader of a team can enter his or her name, team name. You have to select a team name, then team leader's roll number and branch. Similarly, maximum 3 members are allowed. For only 2 groups, 4 members can be allowed. So over here we have team one, team member one name, team number one, roll number and branch. Similarly, we have team member two, team number three, and team number four. Team member four will be for only 2 groups, right? So all these details you have to fill in and submit by coming Monday. So you all have time till coming Monday to complete this form. So you can conduct, you can meet online and you can, and the thing is, you should select the people who are like from diverse background. So, for example, if you're from mechanical, it's a very first nature to select someone other from mechanical also. But you think if you're developing on a, if your problem requires some, communications, their knowledge and all, you can select someone from EXCC also. So it's not hard and fast rule. Yeah. So, and I'm not making it compulsory any roll number wise teams. I'm leaving it to you. So you can decide, any of the team members, regardless of, what I have to suggest you all. Okay. Clear about it? Any doubts, anyone? I'll wait for 10-15 seconds. Any doubts regarding the team formation, regarding the week one? All the resources I will share it in MS Teams. Sorry for glitches today. Internet disconnectivity was a problem for some time. So there was a glitch for 1 minute.